That was wonderful. I came by earlier. What time did I come by? Around 1? And so you're sitting there working in your journal. And Eric used to be Joe Mino's teacher. I don't know if any of you guys know Joe Mino, but
I know him.
I know him.
Used to know him. They owe Joe Mino some money. Oh yeah, the back end. Okay. Anyway, but that was a blast. It kind of reminded me of why I used to avoid my grandfather, and now he's gone. So if you walk by the living room at a certain time in the house, you got sucked into the rosary and that whole. But you know, there was a lot of strength in that strange faith. So they really believed in that crap. Anyway, I would like to thank Blue Stocking for starters. Just places like this that are becoming rarer and rarer. And if any of you guys, I don't know, you don't have to get the books necessarily. There are a lot of little things that you can get as well. But it really would be nice to support the places because there's so little East Village left in the East Village, and this is one of it. So, let's see. Also, let's see. Akashic, thanks for forgiving me. We'll talk about what happened later. That this isn't the place for it. Okay. My home publisher. And again, thank you, Eric. It was a pleasure hearing you. All right, Gladyss of the Hunt, my new publisher. Gladyss of the Hunt. Takes place in the winter of 2003, just a year after Bloomberg has taken office. It's a crime novel. It occurs around Times Square, which is still undergoing the final stages of Disneyfication, which made tourism into something far worse than pornography ever was. God, there's little creatures that greet you on the street. Anyway, when the novel opens, tall blonde hookers have been turning up dead in the area. Gladyss, a 22-year-old rookie, loosely fits the profile of victims, so she gets a 30-day transfer into homicide, but she's kind of ambitious. She wants to kind of go further. And due to her flaky nature and driving ambition, she tries employing what she learned in her Kundalini yoga class to kind of give her an intuitive edge, as you'll see. She's partnered with Bernie Burnt-Out Farrell, an old detective who has very little patience for her or anybody else. This excerpt is modified for this reading, so excuse if it's a little bit choppy. Let me try to find where the hell did I put that excerpt? Here we go. Let's see. It opens when they've just finished canvassing the area for witnesses of the latest murder. So, you know, that's about all you need to know. If you just read this thing, it'll be fine here. As we were heading toward 8th Avenue on 45th. God, my glasses are not. I got to get a higher magnification. As we were heading toward 8th Avenue on 45th, we spotted a guy in a bright red day-glow vest who was touching a pencil-like object to each lamppost he passed. "Excuse me," Bernie said, flashing his shield. "What the fuck you doing?" "This is an AC locator," the man said, holding up a small wand. "I work for Con Ed. We're checking for live posts because of that woman who just died downtown. A graduate student had recently been electrocuted along with her dog by a live junction box in the East Village." "Were you around here 2 days ago?" Bernie asked. "I've been checking the lampposts in the area for the past few days. Why?" Bernie took out a photo of Katie Duffy's face taken at the morgue and showed it to the Con Ed worker. "You don't remember seeing her?" "Oh God, you're kidding," the worker replied, looking shocked. "She might have been fighting with someone," I added. "She might have screamed. If I saw that, I would have helped her." "How about this guy?" Bernie asked, taking out a mugshot of Nissim O'Flaherty, a convicted felon and sadist, but no murderer. "You know what?" said the worker. "I actually do remember this clown. He was pissing against the lamppost on 9th Avenue as I was trying to get a reading." "You sure it was him?" "Oh yeah. And when I told him that the post could be live, he said that would be the only buzz he could get without paying for a hooker." It hardly seemed like much to go on, but Bernie pointed out that O'Flaherty's SRO was only a few blocks from the crime scene and suggested that we pay a surprise visit. "And charge him with what, public urination?" Bernie didn't reply. "Where'd you get that photo of Katie?" I didn't know he had visited the morgue that day. Another great weapon Bert left me, in addition to his collection of bow ties. Bert was his old partner and mentor, was the simple motto, be prepared. You really miss him, don't you? It was kind of like having your mother for a partner. Nothing was ever good enough, but in fairness, you would have had this case closed by now. It was freezing out, but no better inside O'Flaherty's Fleabag Hotel. Before he got to the clerk's little office, I stopped Bernie and asked him what we were doing there. Call it intuition, to use that secret word. I just feel like something's up here. Based on what, I asked. We have no new evidence. We were up here already with his parole officer when we could have tossed his room, and you didn't want to do that. So isn't this just a waste of time? Don't we need to talk to Frank Duffy before he leaves work? Bernie stared at me. Last I checked, I'm in charge. He stepped up and asked Hal, the clerk, if he had seen the convicted sex offender early last night around the time of Katie's murder. No, he's on a binge right now. He might have been in his room at that time. A drinking binge? What else? I saw him with a gallon-sized plastic bottle of scotch yesterday morning. When did this binge start? I don't know, probably yesterday morning. Is he up there now? I saw him leave about 10 minutes ago. What's up with the heat? I asked. Is the boiler broken? No, it's just a little slow in warming up is all. Inside Hal's cozy booth, a small space heater was churning at his feet. Look, I want to grab him where he feels most vulnerable. Let the little roach feel like he has nowhere to crawl, Bernie explained to me. Turning to Hal, he asked, mind if we wait in the hallway in front of his room? Tell you what, said the clerk, reaching behind him. This is the key to the room next to his. It's a little warmer in there. Thanks, said Bernie, taking it. We just missed the elevator, which was as slow as the geriatrics who used it, so we took the stairs. As we climbed, I suggested that if Katie was killed last night and O'Flaherty was drunk all yesterday, there was no way he would have been physically able to commit the murder, especially if he did not drug her first. Trust me, Bernie responded. Alcohol affects different people differently. Most get horny and lazy, but there are a few who get angry and energized. When we reached the top landing, Bernie listened outside O'Flaherty's door for a minute. Then he knocked, no answer. He tried the door, it opened. He looked inside briefly, then closed it. Don't worry, I'm not going to blow this on some technicality, he said. And we went down the hall to the room Hal had offered us. Inside was a stripped, stained mattress on a heavy metal frame. An old end table held a clunky old phone. It didn't feel any warmer in the room than it did in the hallway. As we silently sat there, I realized that if some mystical revelation were ever to occur, this had to be the time and place for it. I focused on breathing deeply and tried to evict my ego from the random thoughts that buzzed through my head. Slowly, one image remained, the postcard of the Diana statue on O'Flaherty's wall when we first investigated. I don't know why, but I had envisioned the image, and I don't know why he had taped it up in the first place. Hey, I suddenly heard, you sound like a pug with a head cold, cut it out. Oh, sorry, my pranayama, breath of fire, had gotten the better of me. I closed my eyes and breathed through my mouth. You know, when they built the World Trade Center, Bernie broke in, they also put up all these medium-sized office buildings around there. They called it architectural transition between the Twin Towers and the rest of the area. Now that the towers are gone, those transitional buildings, they don't make any sense at all. Looking out the window, I saw what had sparked his comment. Eastward over the snow-encrusted lot, whose buildings had recently been leveled, behind a turn-of-the-century theater that was being retrofitted as a multiplex. Above the Disney store and Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, there was a clear view of some of the skyscrapers that made up the new Times Square complex. Bernie, you know, I just want to remind you that my 30-day assignment is almost over. What's the address of Katie's office building again? he interrupted, staring transfixed at the new high-rises. 3 Times Square. And that was on the northeast corner, right? Yeah, the one with the fly swatter roof. I recycled his joke. Why? Why? Typically patronizing, he didn't respond. Bernie simply planted himself at the window and stared eerily out. I folded my arms together and sat in silence and watched as the afternoon sky darkened. In the adjacent lot, I saw a big, hairy rat slowly making its way across the hardened crust of snow toward some distant crack. I had a sudden realization that I hadn't seen rats in a while. The city really had made progress in eliminating undesirables. For a moment, I was nostalgic for the urban wilderness. The rats seemed vaguely bucolic, more like an evicted squirrel or an endangered groundhog. I was awakened from my musings by Bernie's snoring, and I realized I was shivering uncontrollably. It wasn't even 5 o'clock and the sky was as black as coal. I'm fucking freezing, I said, rising to my numb feet. There's a deli on the next block. How about a coffee? Light and sweet, he mumbled without opening his eyes. I peeked out the door. An old lady was standing there in a nightgown like a frozen ghost. As I walked past, I realized she was leaning against the radiator, which emitted a faint hiss as if letting out its dying breath. You should call the heat hotline 311, I suggested, though I don't think she heard. I took the stairs down, dashed to the lobby, and out to the well-heated corner deli, where I got at the end of a long line. I was grateful that it moved slowly enough for me to get my core temperature back up. When it was my turn, I ordered 2 large cups of coffee, and in another minute, I was back in the meat locker lobby, holding the hot bag against me. Seniors were standing around, and the clerk was watching his portable TV as I passed through. When the dented elevator door opened, I patiently waited as the frozen lady who had been holding onto the radiator slowly exited. Suddenly, a violent force slammed into me, throwing me forward. As I fell to the floor, I whacked my forehead against the back wall of the elevator. The hot coffee crushed under my chest, scalding me from belly to neck. As I struggled to get up, the assailant jumped on my back. Grabbing my hair, he slammed my head against the floor of the elevator. The doors slid shut with him on top of me. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Do you want me to say anything, or?
People should buy books.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll sign them. All of
buy
them.
books, so you'll sign all of them, yeah. If you buy the books, buy his books, and buy our books. And, is that it? Yep. Anyone else want to do a slam or anything? All right.
No, you're good. You're good.
All right.
Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you. Stand up.
Thank you, Eric.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah, I know.